Michael is a film directed by a guy called Marcus Schleinzer, who is actually a protege of Michael Haneke. Now, he's the director of films like Hidden, The White Ribbon, and Funny Games. Some great movies. Michael Haneke is one of my favourite directors working today. And Michael is an Austrian film made by his protege. Now, the plot follows an office drone called Michael, who keeps a 10-year-old boy prisoner in his home and systematically abuses and rapes him. Now, this is a film that doesn't exactly sound like a jolly watch, but it's one that I've been interested in seeing for a long time, so I rented it from Blockbuster. And straight away, the plot itself is one of the most shocking plots that you'll see in a film this year. It is very shocking, and any rational person will react to it as such. The film itself actually does deliver on the promise that I had for it, in the same way that Michael Haneke is a very restrained, observational director. This film certainly takes that approach to the subject matter. It's borderline documentary. We are essentially just a fly on the wall in the character of Michael's life. We see him at work for an insurance company, which kind of, made me smile because of what I do for a living. But we see him at work and we see him at home, and we get to know the character over the course of the 90 or so minute movie, which this restraint and very kind of laid back approach and observational approach really does help rack up the tension and make the scenes of abuse even more disturbing. Now, they are actually all implied. You don't actually see anything. I will say that right now for anybody who thinks that this may be a bit too extreme for them. You don't see anything. It's all implied, and I think the fact that it is implied and left to the imagination of the audience makes it all the more terrifying. It certainly is. I thought it was a fantastic film. Now, while it's not a jolly watch, and it's certainly something that you would have to be in the mood to watch something a bit different, a bit darker. It's a very fascinating take on the subject matter, how it's not the relationship between Michael and the 10-year-old boy, I believe called Wolfgang, who he keeps prisoner. It's not condemned, it's not romanticised, it's just shown exactly how it is. The director takes no stance on it whatsoever. He remains completely on the fence, which I feel that when you're dealing with a subject matter as excruciatingly painful as this, it's difficult to remain on the fence, but I think he successfully does that. And he also does take a very Hitchcockian approach to the tenser scenes. As I say, the abuse is all implied, but there are certain scenes where you think that Michael is going to be discovered as a paedophile. But he takes a very kind of Hitchcockian approach in that he gives the audience information as to where he's keeping the little boy, and then if he has an outsider enter the house, the way it's shot is very, very tense, and we know that the kid's just behind that door and this person's standing there, and it is very tense and very well done. There are certain twists and turns throughout the movie. One of the more fascinating scenes is when Michael actually goes out hunting at a go-kart track, and he's looking for a young boy to abduct. Scenes like this are so tense and frightening without much happening at all, and it is left to the audience's imagination, and this is certainly the film's strength. The acting in it is absolutely brilliant. The main character, whose name I can't pronounce, but his first name's also Michael, I believe, is absolutely flawless in this movie. He is not only a cold, harsh monster at times, and he's also quite sympathetic and likeable in a sad, lonely, sad sack kind of way. And for that reason, I think the film works in that you are a little bit conflicted as to how to feel about this character. At times you think, well, maybe if he just got some help, but obviously with the sort of subject matter that it is, that the director doesn't lean one way or the other. He completely creates a mixed character and lets the audience decide for themselves how evil this person is. And obviously, he is completely insane and evil, but I do find the fact that the actor brings quite a vulnerability to the role to be very interesting. There are certain twists and turns throughout the movie, and like I say, certain bits where you think he's going to get found out, but there's nothing that Hollywood, and while the ending is sort of ambiguous and the last shot of the film is very interesting, it does also feel conclusive. While a lot of movies that come out of Austria can feel a little bit too ambiguous, and this does have what I would consider to be a conclusive ending, and a very interesting one at that. Now, I don't want to risk spoiling the film, but it is certainly a very interesting movie, and one of the more rewarding films I've seen in quite a long time. So Michael is a film that I would recommend. As I said, I rented it from Blockbusters. You can find it in Blockbusters or on Amazon. If you look hard enough, you can find it. So I do highly recommend Michael. I think it's a very interesting take on a very disturbing subject.